A lot of churches know that they should be using text messages now, but they're still not quite sure of the best way to do it. We've got a lot of great ideas for you today. Hey there, it's Matthew Warner, and this is the Finding Uno Show. Welcome to the Finding Uno Show. Who's Uno? Oh, you know Uno. He's that one lost sheep the shepherd leaves the 99 to go after, and we are here to help you find him. I'm your host, Matthew Warner. I'm joined by my co-host, Matthew Sewell. Good day, Matt.
Hey, Matt. Good to be with you as usual.
Good to see you, sir. So today we are talking about the 12 text messages to send your church. So last episode, we talked about 3 reasons that your church should be text messaging. So there's still some churches out there that aren't sure if they even should be utilizing text messaging in their communications. So if you're still not sure on that, go back and watch the last episode because we've got 3 really good reasons. Matt, do you remember what those 3 reasons were?
Put me on the spot. So in theory, 99% open rate, I think was one of them, right? And then right. Doubling attendance and empowering your ministry leaders, I think was the third one, right?
Good. So yeah, 3 reasons real quick. 1 is the 99% open rate. There is no other channel out there that you will get that kind of open rate on when sending. But you got to be careful with how you're using it, which again is what we're going to get into today of here's some good ideas of how to use texting, because if you use it in the wrong ways, you can actually do more damage than good. So we're going to give you some good, safe ways to use it to be really helpful. So that was 1, the 99% open rate. The second reason was doubling attendance. So how effective it is. It's not just open rates, but how effective it is at actually getting people to show up, reminding people at the right time during their busy weeks. Very, very powerful. And then the third reason we gave last week was that you're not just doing this for your church as a whole so that you can send something to everybody when it's an emergency or something that needs to go to everybody, but it's really a very powerful tool that you need to put into the tool bag or the toolbox of every one of your ministry leaders so that they have the ability to do it within their own ministries the way they need to do it. And actually, texting is probably more commonly used in some of those smaller groups or subsets of communities or groups within your wider church community. And so today we're going to give you 12 ways to use texting in your church, basically. And so some of those are ones that you would use with everybody, that you can text out to everybody, the whole congregation. But a lot of them might be more specific to individual ministries or smaller groups. So keep that in mind as we go through these. These aren't necessarily all things you would send to everybody, but use a little bit of prudence on who you're sending these to and when. But we're going to give you 12 ideas to kind of get the gears turning. And there's endless ways you can use texting, of course. But these are just some very common ways we see a lot of our best communicating churches at Flocknote use texting in some really powerful ways.
Yeah. All right. I love these ideas too, just as a quick aside, because we don't normally get the what is text messaging so much anymore. We did up until a few years ago, surprisingly. But a lot of times it's okay, texting, fine, whatever. All of the 3 things that you just said are all well and good, but what the heck do I even send? I text my mom, but why would I text a whole parish or my whole ministry, right? So so we'll kind of rapid fire.
I think that's one of the reasons churches are hesitant to start using it. I think they know that this could be really powerful, this could be really useful, but they're a little hesitant because they're afraid they're going to use it the wrong way because they know how powerful it is. So again, these will be some good, safe ways that you can use it in your church.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll kind of rapid fire through each of these. So number 1 is special event or holy day reminders.
Yeah. So we've given this example before, even last episode, talking about how powerful you can use this to double attendance to certain things. But that reminder at the right time during your busy week is really, really powerful. So any special event you got going on, holy days, which are days that are applicable or relevant to everybody in the entire congregation or the parish. So use those. Obviously, if it's for a special event, you might just be texting just the people that registered to come to that event or the group that was invited to that event. But otherwise, these could be things that go out to everybody. But very powerful, just as a reminder at the right time during the week to the right group of people.
Yep. Number 2 is last minute changes.
Yeah. So this one I think a lot of churches get, especially if you are the secretary that answers the phone or in the office answering the phone whenever bad weather hits, something changes. You got a snowstorm, you have a hurricane, wherever you live, depending on what the thing is that changes up the schedule where masses are scheduled or canceled, or certain events are put into jeopardy. Of course, with coronavirus going on right now, everybody's had perfect examples of this, where last minute, the day before, stuff changes. The state comes out and says, hey, we can no longer meet, or hey, we can open up and meet, but under these circumstances or these guidelines, right? So getting that information out last minute has become really, really important. So of course, texting is the best way to get that out quickly to everyone when they need to know. Early morning before they're getting up and leaving, all of a sudden schools are closed, or things are canceled or moved around or rescheduled.
Yeah. One that might make church staff members shake in their boots a little bit, but get timely feedback is number 3.
Yeah. So I think this is one that's underutilized a lot because we're afraid to ask people what they think about things. But texting, and also I think some of it is the idea of gathering all the feedback up, figuring out how to make it meaningful or go through it, how long it takes to somehow get people to respond. But that's what's great with text messaging is literally right now, if you need to know what, maybe a majority of your group that you're texting thinks about something, you can text them right now, and within a few minutes have a majority of people's replies back to you. So very, very powerful when you start to realize that kind of power is at your fingertips. There's lots of ways you can use that. So it could be, what time do you guys want to meet? It could be where do you guys want to go today, or where do you want to go at our next retreat? What do you want to eat for, would you rather have pizza or hamburgers? It could be little things like that, or it could be big things, like we're thinking about supporting this ministry or this charity, or we're thinking about building, maybe you're a new community and it's like, well, should we build this first or that first? And you could send that out and immediately get people's responses. So it's probably the best way to get high engagement rates when you ask those kind of questions. So don't forget that you can ask those questions, and you'd be surprised at how much good positive feedback you get whenever you send those kind of things out. I mean, I think a lot of pastors are really shy, I think, with it because they're afraid they're going to hear the vocal minority they hear all the time, probably, that are a little more vocal at letting them know when they don't like something or they do like something. But when you all of a sudden make it available for a lot of people that otherwise aren't giving you regular feedback, they're not taking the time to come to you and tell you what they think, you all of a sudden realize there's a lot more of the silent majority out there that actually feel great and are very thankful. And you'll get so many positive responses back that may not even be related to the specific thing you're asking. They'll answer that too, but then, oh, by the way, we really enjoyed your homily last Sunday, or we love what you did with the last retreat, or I love the talk that you gave at the last meeting. You get all those additional things because they're like, by the way, since we're talking, since I'm already writing back to you, you've given me this opportunity to talk to you. You get so many other great positive feedback. So I encourage leaders to try it out.
Yeah, awesome. So this next one is one of my personal favorites, but probably something that's taken for granted, which is just using texting to say thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. So people don't mind getting messages when they're just being grateful for you. And when you say thank you, we don't say that enough. Sometimes we don't just go the extra mile to say it. We might say it during the normal course of things, but to have it pop up in somebody's phone, letting them know how grateful you are for them. It could just be saying thank you for being a member of our community. Thanks for coming to the meeting last week. It could be any of those kind of things that just give that additional personal touch. And again, that often spurs a lot of other positive feedback because they'll say, thank you. No, thank you for what you've done. And it was my pleasure. And what a wonderful thing to be a part of. So it's very powerful in that sense. Gratitude, of course. And texting is an easy way to do that. That kind of stands out from the normal course of things. So people will go, oh, that was really thoughtful. They thought to send that and say thank you.
Yeah. I think I always think of the one particular story whenever I think of that idea of just saying thanks. It was a priest out in, I think, New York City, like 4 or 5 years ago. And he was in the same boat. What do I send out in a text? And we're like, just try saying thanks. And he sent it out to, 600-700 people. And he wasn't being hyperbolic. He said it was the most positive response to anything I have ever sent out in all of my years of ministry. I think he was an older guy. But so maybe as one one concrete example there.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's such a great example. And I think that would happen a lot. I don't think that's that anomalous. I think people just don't often get the chance to give you some positive praise back. And when you give them that chance and you're saying thank you in the process, you'd be surprised at how many people respond back in really positive ways.
Yeah. Okay. So number 5 is drive traffic.
The drive traffic, of course, because it's so disruptive, because you get such high open rates, because you can reach so many people so quickly, you can get people to then take whatever action you want them to take. So it's a good reminder that driving traffic is not the goal. We're not just trying to get traffic up on our website so we can say, hey, look, the website's justified because we got more traffic to it. But there's some reason, right? So maybe it's driving traffic to an event sign up, or driving traffic to some campaign you have going on one of your social media accounts, or whatever the case may be. This is one of the best ways to get people to take an action. So it might be better to call that take action rather than drive traffic, although some of these other things we're talking about are also ways of taking action. But it's number one way to get a message to people and get them to do something you want them to do next, whatever that action might take or might be.
Yeah. Number 6, maybe related to that, is inspire them.
Yeah, I think we often forget, and we talk about this periodically, when we're sending out communications, we have to remind ourselves that it's not just about what I want you to know. Because if all of my communications are just informational of just, I want you to know this information, it doesn't encourage a very healthy relationship. Just like if every time I saw you, I was always just telling you, something I want you to know. Communicating is about a good relationship that involves a lot of other types of things, like listening would be one. So again, that's where asking for feedback and those kind of things are really powerful. Yes, giving information that might be helpful, but a lot of times it's inspiring them. It's giving them something they need. It's solving some pain or problem they have in their life. It's all those other kinds of things too. So inspirational is a great way. It's a great role that obviously church leadership plays in most of our members' lives, is to hopefully aspire us all to become saints, to become better people. And so a text is a great way to do that. And we've seen some interesting ways, churches can do this. It could just be every once in a while, the pastor sending something out to everybody, with something inspirational. It could be a little link to a video he made. It could be something else that you found online that's very inspirational. It could be a piece of scripture that's inspirational. But you could also break this down into other groups. So you could have a separate group that you set up. And again, this is all easy to do in Flocknote, but you could do it with other tools as well. Is to create a group that's just a Bible verse each day, or maybe it's a prayer meditation each day on a particular topic or particular approach to prayer. It could be an inspirational quote each day. So you could break this down and have a group that's just for that, and then have everybody subscribe to that if they're interested in getting that, because maybe all your people don't want to text every single day. So you wouldn't want to send this to everybody unsolicited, but you can invite people, use a smart button within Flocknote and send that out to everyone and say, hey, if you're interested in get a daily scripture verse each day or a little quote from the readings each day or whatever, click this link, you click the button, it automatically adds them, subscribes them to that group. And now you can schedule these up. That's another great thing with these tools like Flocknote, is you can schedule these out. So you can sit down at the beginning of the month, schedule out one text each day of a inspirational quote or a piece of scripture, and just have it go out at the same time every morning to that group that wants to get it. So a great way to inspire your people and add additional value as you build those relationships with them.
Yeah. Number 7 probably seems pretty obvious, but prayer requests is another good
prayer requests. Yeah. So praying with your people, obviously very powerful. But knowing what to pray for is helpful in that. And so you can ask them, just text them, hey, what can we pray for? And they can reply right back. And you can reply back to them if you want, and keep that going. But just knowing what you can pray for together and asking for people that is real, or for their prayer requests is really easy, really simple, really powerful.
Yeah. Next one is treat them. So maybe it seems like they're super busy all the time, so they don't think beyond kind of the necessity, but treating them. Why is that a super important one to consider?
Yeah, I mean, this is another form of some of these other ones, that just different ways to do it and to stay top of mind with your members throughout the week in different ways. But just giving them something. So again, it could be a video that's helpful, that solves a problem in their life. It could be a free gift of something they can pick up next time they're coming, or something they can click and get, digitally. So that just doing something nice for them in some way. So you can do that lots of ways digitally these days. Doing something nice for them could just be a piece of content. It could be a free gift somewhere. It could just be offering to pray for them in those other ways we've talked about. But do something nice for people is a great way to use it.
Yeah, this is pretty straightforward. But number 9 is reminding volunteers.
Yeah, so obviously reminding in general is text messaging is probably the best way to remind people in general using these different tools. And reminding volunteers is usually one of the most common ones that churches need to do, is just to remind, hey, don't forget, we need you showing up at 7:00 in the morning with your broom and your work clothes or whatever. To be able to send those at the right time the night before to just that group of people that are volunteering is really a great way to do it.
So the number 10 speaks back to one of the things we talked about last week, but getting timely results to get them to do something in a timely fashion.
Yeah. So again, this probably overlaps a little bit with some of the ones we said, but just getting them to do something in general. So if you need them to turn in a permission slip, remember their $5 for pizza, turn in a commitment card, some other paperwork you need getting done. We all have deadlines we're trying to reach with those things. And it's hard if you're always waiting for the next Sunday to remind them again. It's like, well, we need to give them 3 Sundays to remind them and give them and call, do these things repeatedly. It's amazing how quickly you can shorten that time period when you can get a text message to them and just say, hey, just don't forget to bring it tomorrow. And all of a sudden you have a much better response the next day of getting those kind of things turned in, or people paying for something or signing up or whatever they need to do. So we've seen this a lot with like capital campaigns. When you have a time of, what was the story you shared lots of times, Matt, with the length of capital campaigns, of how many weeks you give people to put in their pledge and respond in some way. We've seen a lot of churches cut that down dramatically when you can get the right messages out in the right time.
Yeah, it was actually my church, so I'm a little bit biased, but it's been a few years now where they've employed this same strategy. So before it's Flocknote that they're using, but before they had a tool to email, in this case, people in a timely fashion, it was like 4 to 5 months to reach their annual fundraising goal, and once they started sending something out Saturday, the day before Sunday, saying, hey, please sit down as a family, fill out your envelope, bring it to church tomorrow. They cut the time it took to reach the goal in half, I think, and then they cut it in half again, like the second year that they did it. Like, it sounds ridiculous, but it was actually, 1, not rocket science, but 2, totally true. Which the congregation appreciates too. Our pastor said, hey, look, we don't like announcing this for 4 months. And I'm sure you don't like hearing about this for 4 months, so it bears good fruit, I think, on both sides of the ball. But yeah, that's just one example. Another one that I thought of is like mobilizing people for like religious freedom type things, or just like large gatherings of people. Happened in San Francisco recently, actually, where it was a text message where a church said, hey, we're all meeting here tomorrow at 5:30, don't forget. And they mobilized like 1,200 people to like come down to wherever this was going. And I just heard about it last week. Hadn't even told you about it, I don't think yet. But yeah, it's just super powerful. A simple text.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, so mobilizing people, huge one. You want people to show up somewhere at a certain time, send them a text message. Very, 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 very good at that. Okay.
So 2 left here. Yeah, number 11 is engage your members.
Yeah, so this builds upon some of the other ones, but it's how else can you get to know your members? What else can you learn about them? So sometimes it's just reaching out and saying, hey, what's your favorite Bible verse? What's something you like to do? So you could learn personal things about your members and start to capture those things so you can know your people better, so you can serve them better. It could be, how's your week going? How are you feeling right now? What are you worried about right now? How are we're in the middle of it's a difficult time right now. How are you doing? What can we do to help you? So just asking those kind of questions. How could we better serve you? All those kinds of things to get them talking to you, engage them. We talked about prayer. Those are all good ways to get conversations going. And this is why it's important to have a good texting tool to manage this, because some tools you can just blast out one way, but doesn't capture replies back. Some of them will capture replies back, but you can't keep going. So that's something we're really focused on with Flocknote, is the two-way communication, because it's so important from a ministry standpoint. So to be able to send it out and then have people reply back, but not have it go to everybody, just, so an admin can see it and you can then reply back. And there's right within the system, you can spin off one-on-one conversations with people all via text without them ever having to know what Flocknote is or go to Flocknote or anything like that. You're able to go back and forth via text message with them. And it keeps it all safe environment compliant because it captures the whole history of the conversation, doesn't reveal, personal information, those kind of things in the process. So it's really great to be able to get those conversations going. So it starts out often as a large text to lots of people or a large group, which is very practical. But from there, you'll see that people who reply back, all of a sudden, those can take on their own life of their own, where you're able to engage each person that replies back in a meaningful way. And again, that's a smaller subset of the people you send everything to. But those are really important opportunities to take advantage of, and to be able to do that seamlessly in the way you're communicating is really important for a church.
Yeah. And then our last one is the most important thing going on this week.
So this, I called it that. It's you could put this lots of different ways, but this is something that like we've seen churches do that I think is really great. But so it gets like everybody on your text message list, but one text message a week. So maybe you're the pastor and you say, I'm going to send you one text message a week. So people know they're not going to get overloaded with lots of text messages that they don't want. You can unsubscribe anytime you want, but I'm going to just tell you the one most important thing going on at our church each week. And this is such a powerful way to it's a powerful way to lead. That would be another way to put it, is use text messaging to lead your people. Hopefully you have an important, clear mission in your community of what you're doing. What's our purpose? And then how are we doing that? What are the things we're building or doing or working on right now as a community that's doing this exciting mission, that's achieving these great goals that we have as a community? And to lead people to do that, you have to be regularly communicating. So to be able to keep them in the loop regularly like that, directly. And what's great about a text is that everyone reads it. And so it keeps everyone in the loop. So if you send your email, great. It's an important staple as well, your weekly email that goes out. But it's usually a little longer form, and you're going to have 30, 40, 50%, regularly reading that, which is great. That's a wonderful way to do it. And it's a lot more information. But with a text message, 99% are going to read it. And so you can get 99% of your people all on board with at least a couple little short ideas. And because a text message is so short, that's why it gets the great open rate it does. It forces you to get it down to the essence of really what is the most important thing going on this week. But to get that synergy across an entire community is really powerful. When everyone is on the same page, we know what we're doing. We know what the big problem is we're trying to solve this week. We know what's on our hearts. We know what we're praying about. We know what the next thing is we're trying to achieve. We know how we just did and the last thing we were trying to achieve. So all the good communication you should be doing as a leader, but to bring in everybody is really important and really powerful. And that's one example of a great way to do it. So use text messaging to lead people, to build the synergy and focus of your community of what you're doing.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we hope those were helpful 12 ways you could use texting. Hopefully you're already doing some of those, but hopefully you learned something new if you're already texting. But if you're not, maybe that's some good food for thought for starting some ideas of how you can be reaching your people better using texting. So that is all we have today for our topic. But before we head out, we're going to head over to our People Got Church Problems segment for a listener question. Judy S. asks, so many emails with annoying reply alls. Nothing like getting 20 reply all thank yous or other replies that don't necessarily pertain to you. What is the best solution for this?
Yeah, so we see this a lot. You can see this with both emails. You have reply alls and emails, but you also get versions of this in text messaging as well. So if you're using like a GroupMe app or something like that, where it's basically just a big group of anybody who can text the entire group, you get the same sort of issue. And those can work great. Those can be the best way to do it, is just if you got a small group of people and you all need to go back and forth and everybody's reply kind of has the same weight of what's going on in the conversation, then yeah, put everyone on a CC field in your email and just reply all in a big circle. Or like get them on a GroupMe list and you can all text back and forth in a big group. that can work for small groups. But at churches, when you start to get to bigger groups is where it's really important that you have something that avoids this. Otherwise, you get what Judy is complaining about here, which is just lots of reply alls that don't mean anything and just cause a lot of noise in your inbox. And again, that happens in texting if it's using a reply all type texting tool like GroupMe, or like a group chat sort of thing, or email, same sort of thing can happen. And that was why we built in a lot of the features we did in Flocknote, because what you want to maintain is a kind of hierarchy to the type of communications within the group. So you have an announcement that might go out that everyone needs to get, but then the replies are somehow secondarily handled. So in Flocknote, you can still have group conversations, but it doesn't go by default out to everyone in the group. And so it captures it all in a spot that the admin sees it, and other group members can see it if you have our public, comments open on a note, but they click over and they have the conversation there rather than as a reply all that, mucks up your inbox. Same with texting, to be able to text the entire group, but when replies come back by default, they just come back to the admin into the system, which again, multiple admins can have access to. So you still stay safe environment compliant. But it's limited to your admins getting all those. And it also captures them in one place rather than just like filling up your inbox with 50 new messages or 100 new messages. And this gets more important, obviously, the bigger group you get. And so with a lot of tools, when you start to get 50, 100, 500, 1,000, 5,000 or 10,000, people at a lot of our churches, it just becomes where feedback is totally undoable. I can't have any replies because it's so much and there's no way to get through it all in a meaningful way, or it makes everyone else annoyed. And so separating those things out in some sort of meaningful way is really important. So the answer is to get the right tool that handles communications for the right size group you have. So again, a small group, reply alls are not that big a deal. But when you start to get to the bigger groups, which every church has, even because bigger groups could be 15, 20, 25 people, 50 people, even a small church is going to have a need to have messages that go out, have a certain level of prominence in somebody's inbox, and then the replies have a secondary, prominence, and reply alls don't do that. It's good to have the right tool is really the only way to get around that, because what you don't want is to end up not getting any feedback or blocking all feedback or not reading anything. And that's what happens in those big groups is somebody gets the main message, or they send the main message, but then 30, 40, 50 people all reply to it in a big chat or group or reply all. And now what I learned is that number one, the main message is lost in the mix. So everyone's had that happen in like a big group text message they've gotten. The main reply is lost. And then when the leader has to send something out again, I've been trained that most of the messages on this feed are just noise. And so I mute it or I don't pay attention to it. And now when the leader wants to speak again, they don't have the prominence that they need to stand out from all the other noise in the group. So yeah, hopefully that helps.
Yeah. Thanks again, Judy, for that question. Yeah, hopefully that's helpful. Thanks for everybody for sticking with us again through those 12 things, 12 ways you can use texting at your church. So that's all for Matt and I today. Thank you again for listening. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Before we bounce, we're going to pass it over to our friend Liz for our last segment to find out where Uno is today.
Thank you, Matt. Uno was spotted this week in Indianapolis, Indiana with the staff at Our Lady of Lourdes Catholic Church. Thank you to the Stewardship and Communications Coordinator, Jeff, for sending us this photo. It looks like you have a fantastic team over there, and we are so grateful for each of you. Don't forget to subscribe to the Finding Uno Show wherever you get your podcasts, and also leave us a review for your chance to get a pair of flock socks. Just send us an email at howdy@findinguno.com, letting us know you left a review, and we will drop a pair of socks in the mail for you. Until then, we'll see you next time on the Finding Uno Show. Bye-bye.